R.I. Presents.
Sea People Mountain People Chapter 2 Encounter with Mythology. Previous overview. While her father and Susa were talking, they received a report that there was a disturbance at the logging site, and when we hurried to the site, we found the Ainu and the Wajin in a terrible state. When we arrived and looked at the situation, we saw that the Ainu people were glaring at the people who were confused by the interruption of work. There was also a yelling between people who were angry at the obstruction of their work and Ainu people who were angry at the barbarism that took place on their land, and they didn't even notice our arrival. When Susa and her father intervened, they finally seemed to notice our presence, and the Ainu people cheered softly. They persuaded both sides, and after telling each of them that they would stop their work and discuss the matter, we took the people who were working on it and headed to Suji. On the way back, I looked back and saw that about half of the Ainu people remained in the place, and they seemed to be on guard even after the Wajin left. When I returned to Suji, the fathers resumed talking, but after witnessing such an uproar, I didn't think it would be resolved anytime soon. In the end, no conclusion was reached that day, and it was decided to gather the representatives of Kodan around the site again in Hankanai Kodan and set up a forum for discussion. In the evening of that day we returned to Porokodan with heavy steps. And as soon as Dad returned to Kodan, he gathered everyone together and explained the situation. The reaction of everyone who heard the explanation was still harsh, and most of them said that they should not have accepted the Wajin to this land. Some people agreed with the story about the flood damage, but the image of the Wajin so far was too bad, and the distrust outweighed it. For the time being, Dad decided to gather everyone's opinions and go to Hankanai Kodan, but the answer was not positive. That night, when the family was eating, everyone remained silent, and the usually cheerful Kanasiapu was eating quietly. Maybe everyone was sensing something. This will be the last meal the whole family will have together. The next day, when her father left for Hankanai Kodan, events took a sharp turn. Tokupshup, who was worried about her father, decided to accompany her father, and the smile on the face of Kanasiapu, who came to see us off at the entrance of Kodan when we departure in the morning, was very impressive. We went through several codons to Hankanai Codon and arrived at our destination around noon on the third day. The codon was a little smaller than the Poro codon, but I had the impression that there were many relatively large buildings. As soon as we arrived, the father went to greet the head of codon and then we were led to the building where we were going to stay. Then, while we were taking a break in the room, Susa came to the room with some kind of fruit in his hand. They exchanged greetings, and Susa said, "I want you to eat this fruit," and handed the fruit to her father. Susa then offered to hold a banquet when everyone was gathered, including an apology, and when her father agreed with a smile, Susa smiled too, thanked him, and walked out of the room. The apology is a bit surprising. Susa's behavior, which is different from the image of a rough person, is a little confusing. Which is his true personality? When Susa left the room, her father said, "It's a gift, so let's eat it," and they both started eating the fruit. At first glance, the color of the fruit looked like a peach, but unlike the peaches I knew, it was a little flat in shape and the color of the fruit was a little yellowish. While wondering what peaches were like in this era, I felt a little sad for myself now that I don't feel the taste and aroma. It took a few days for the heads of each codon to gather, but 3 days after we arrived, everyone was gathered and a banquet was held that night. The banquet was the largest building in Codon, and when we entered the room with her father at the head, many people had already gathered. I felt something the moment I entered the room. It was a strange feeling of discomfort that I felt when I saw the people sitting in a circle. Then, suddenly, I remembered something. Today's story ends. The continuation of the story will be updated tomorrow. Please look forward to. If you like, please subscribe to the channel.